But let
That's
me just
cool.
pull up a Google image here so you guys can see.
Yeah, and
So this is
sometimes
an
it's
allergic
dark and then
shiner right there.
sometimes it's bags too. Oh yeah. Yeah. See, look at the one to the left though with the little girl. That one, no, go to the second one there. That's what I'm used to
Here.
seeing with people. Yeah,
Yeah.
just that kind of
Yeah.
darkness.
Yeah. I mean, it just has to do with the increased blood flow and lymphatic pooling. It's really what it is.
Wow.
And just cutting that out can make a big, 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 big difference. Yep.
I wonder if
Really
there's
can.
got to be a histamine connection to this too.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you have a food allergy response, part of an allergenic response is going to be histamine at
Oh,
some
go
level.
back up. Go back up on the top there on that screen. At the very top of there, it said, oh, this is interesting. So it was talking about indoor allergens. So mold could be a trigger of the allergic shiners too. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you breathe stuff into that sinus cavity, right? Whether it's outdoor allergens like dander or cedar or things like that, grass pollens, right? Of course, those can be a big role. But you can see right here what causes it, right? So what happens is the tissues and the blood vessels in the nose become swollen, and a lot of excess fluid happens. People don't understand when you have a histamine reaction, a lot of times that causes things to vasodilate. So these blood vessels get swollen. So you get a lot more blood, you get a lot more lymphatic flow, you get a lot more immune reaction. And that's why all that stuff tends to pool right there because of all that, the sinus cavity kind of coming together right in this T zone here.
There you go. Look at that. Pollution and perfume and other irritants. So women, if there's any left listening to the podcast that still wear perfume, stop doing that. That's so bad. Do essential oils if you want to smell.
Exactly. If you want a nice scent, do a really good essential oil, do a lavender, do a, see, I'm trying to think of a bunch of other feminine herbs or feminine essential oils. If you're a guy, do rosewood or do cedar. Keep it really simple. There's a couple of really good blends that are out there that I like. Frankincense is a pretty good neutral one. I just tend to rely on my nice essential oil based deodorant. It tends to be really clean and works well. But yeah, so you want to not put in rub toxins on your skin, toxins on the fragrances. All of that can affect bags under the eyes. All of that can affect your skin too, because it's going to just create more toxicity, more stress on your liver and your body. Now, getting back to the hormone stress, if we have more, let's say, detoxification problems, that could create issues because if we have estrogen dominance, right, or we have high levels of androgens as a female, right, high levels of estrogen dominance, and it could be low estrogen, but it's just higher, relatively speaking, than progesterone, right? That ratio's off, that 20 to 25 to 1 progesterone to estrogen's off, and maybe it's 10 to 1 or 15 to 1. That ratio starts to skew. That could put more stress on the liver. And if you have estrogen issues, that could be a problem. A lot of women, when they consume too much refined carbohydrates and inflammatory foods, they tend to convert more of their estrogens to androgens, testosterone, right? Testosterone's an androgen. It's in that androgen umbrella, right? And those can cause, like I mentioned, a lot more sebum and more skin issues and more acne that way. And then having prostaglandin imbalances, prostaglandin 2, which is more inflammatory, having them 1 and 3 supported with a lot of those good fats, like I mentioned, are going to be helpful. So you're going to really help a lot of the inflammatory pathways with good fish oils. You're also going to help prostaglandin 1 and 3, which are going to help with the skin with the black currant seed and the borage oil. So those can be very helpful too.
Good call. Also, when we're coming in with detox support, you mentioned estrogen, we're going to come in with like some phase 2 detoxification support anyway. So we may come in
Yes.
with something to help with glucuronidation, maybe some calcium D-glucarate. So you wouldn't think of
Yes.
it like your average person, maybe even a naturopath or a functional doc's probably not even going to think calcium D-glucarate for skin issues. But if you think of the mechanism of helping with estrogen dominance, it may be a game changer. And then let's go into the infections a bit. I think
And then
this is
also calcium glucarate could help with some mold too. If there's any mold exposure, that could also help bind up to mold too.
totally, yeah. Binders plus a little calcium D-glucarate. I think you're on your way. Let's
Yep.
hit on infections. I'm surprised you and I haven't brought this up. Here we are this far in. We haven't thought about infections. I mean, that was a big one for me. I think my face was already better, but I was still suffering quite a bit when you and I first became friends. My skin was still not very good because of all my gut infection history.
Yeah, I think you were also still consuming some higher quality dairy that may have been a problem. So some people that if you're doing a lot of cheese or like milk, even if it's raw, right, and good quality, you may still have a problem with that, even if it's really good, clean dairy. Usually butter or ghee tends to be okay because there's less casein, less lactose in there, almost none. But if you're doing other stuff, it could be a problem. Was that an issue, Evan? Do you remember the dairy being a problem?
Man, you remember Central Market and all their amazing cheeses. I would do
Yeah.
some of those grass-fed organic cheeses. It wasn't
Yeah.
often though, I'll be honest. It would maybe be like a chunk of cheese every few days or so, but I think even that was too much for me.
Yeah, and I tell you, I can do well with butter or ghee, but I do not do well with milk or cheese as well. I
What
start to get
happens?
gassy, I tend to get loose stools, and then skin issues will tend to manifest shortly after, for sure. So even high quality dairy, not that good. Now the fat based dairy, right? Butter and ghee tends to be different because it's primarily 99% fat. There's very little casein. Very little lactose, which is the sugar in dairy, and so of course ghee is even cleaner than butter because there's virtually zero casein versus virtually zero um, lactose in there. So that tend to be a lot better.
I'm just curious, how do you do with whey protein? Are you okay with it?
Yeah, I do okay with whey because whey is 99% casein and lactose free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it
Cool.
tends to be a lot better. Yep, I do okay with it. My favorite's going to be collagen, high quality grass fed collagen peptide. So I do my true collagen blend, which works great because there's really, it's in a peptide form. So there's no other larger proteins in there. It's really clean and well broken down. So that tends to do, from a powder standpoint, does really well.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's just talk a couple minutes about infections. I think this is an important part to consider if you have skin issues. I've worked with countless small children and teenagers, and we always are going to look at the potential for infections. There's nothing in particular. I'm not going to say, hey, it's got to be blasto or it's got to be this or that. I would just say, in general, any type of dysbiosis, bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, candida, H. pylori, the whole party that usually happens together is going to be a potential. And I think the one of the big mechanisms here is just to reduce stomach acid by the H. pylori. So I think enzymes to fix the skin are also another important strategy we're going to implement.
Yeah, anytime we have indigestion and our protein and our fat and carbohydrate molecules of the food that we're eating are larger and not broken down, you're going to have intolerances. Food's not going to be broken down all the way, and those large globules, proteins, fats, etc., can get into the bloodstream, create more immune reaction.